Welcome back as we work to connect with each other and with Jesus. The older we get, the more aware of our mortality that we tend to become. We see more of our life behind us than the possibilities in the future. And I've come to realize that healthy kids don't think about death, don't think about the mortality. And you can think of toddlers and young kids and just the energy that they have, the zest and passion for life that consumes them, and it's so fun to watch. But the older we get, the weaker our muscles become, the more cringeworthy our joints are, and in some ways, we lose passion and desire for certain things. But there's a season for everything. In Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 2 tells us a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to harvest. Sometimes it can be difficult to realize and contemplate that no one lives forever. Our time here on earth is limited, but there's a season. There's a time to live, a time to die. And as I think about the seasons that God puts in front of us, I recognize that over the course of our lives, our influence changes. That when we're young, our influence has a certain amount of credibility and reaches this group of people. And as we age, we tend to change our influence. And it's not as though the change is bad, but our relevance is different than it used to be. See, the people that you influence today will be different than the people you influence in 20 years. Now, maybe it's the same literal people, but it's the different generation. It's the people with a different demographic. That you influence the people in your generation, but it's the next generation that we have to make sure we keep connected to Jesus. We have to make sure our influence isn't just about us. And so I'm reminded of the parable of the sower in Matthew chapter 13, where the farmer scatters the seed. And 3/4 of the seed that this farmer scattered didn't grow, but 1/4 did. And as I think about a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to harvest, it makes me realize that the seed I scatter today may be harvested by somebody else. And that's one of the blessings about scattering seed for Jesus. It's just not about me. This mission that Jesus has given us is far bigger than me, my life, my influence, my ability. So instead of focusing on what I can gather, it's important that I also focus on how I can plant, so that the people who come behind me have a harvest to gather. That there's influence that continues to percolate throughout history, not because of me, but because of Jesus using people like me. And when we recognize we're part of a bigger picture, a time to be born and a time to die doesn't sound so terrifying. It recognizes the calling that Jesus has given us on this earth for this season. So as we live for Jesus in a way that scatters seed for Him. Stay connected to each other and to Jesus.